Do you know how many such men operate in our government at this very time? Rusk, McNamara, Hubert Humphrey, Fulbright, Kiko, goes on and on and on. Okay, just to interject here, this was written around the time of JFK and that era. Okay, so we're talking about up to about 1963. To continue, perhaps the most vital directive in Weishaupt's plan to obtain absolute control of the press at that time, the only mass communications media to distribute information to the public so to all news and information could be slanted to that, the masses could be convinced that a one-world government is the only solution to many and varied problems. Folks, this is what's going on today in our country. Do you know who owns and controls our mass communications media? I'll tell you. Practically all the movie lots in Hollywood are owned by the Lehmans, Kuhn, Loeb and Company, Goldman Sachs, and other internationalist bankers. All the national radio and TV channels in the nation are owned and controlled by those same internationalist bankers. The same is true of every chain of metropolitan newspapers and magazines. Also, the press wire services such as Associated Press, United Press, International, etc. The supposed heads of all those media are merely the fronts for the internationalist bankers who in turn compose the hierarchy of the CFR, today's Illuminati in America. Now, can you understand why the Pentagon press agent Sylvester so brazenly proclaimed that the government has the right to lie to the people? What he really meant was that the CFR-controlled government had the power to lie to and be believed by the brainwashed American people. Let us again go back to the first days of the Illuminati, because Britain and France were the two greatest world powers in the late years of the 18th century. Weishaupt ordered the Illuminati to foment the colonial wars, including our Revolutionary War, to weaken the British Empire and organize the French Revolution to start in 1789. However, in 1784, a true act of God placed the Bavarian government in possession of evidence which proved the existence of the Illuminati, and that evidence could have saved France if they, the French government, hadn't refused to believe it. Here is how that act of God happened. It was in 1784 that Weishaupt issued his orders for the French Revolution. A German writer named Zweig put into book form, it contained the entire Illuminati story, and whom Weishaupt had delegated to foment the French Revolution. The courier was struck and killed by lightning as he rode through Ralston on his way to Frankfurt to Paris. The police found the subversive documents on his body and turned them over to the proper authorities. After a careful study of the plot, the Bavarian government ordered the police to raid Weishaupt's newly organized lodges of the Grand Orient and the homes of the most Illuminati influential associates. All additional evidence thus discovered convinced the authorities that the documents were genuine copies of the conspiracy by which the Illuminati planned to use wars and revolutions to bring about the establishment of a one-world government. The powers of which they, headed by the Rothschilds, intended to usurp as soon as it was established, exactly in line with the United Nations plot of today. In 1785, the Bavarian government outlawed the Illuminati and closed the lodges of the Grand Orient. In 1786, they published all the details of the conspiracy. The English title of that publication is The Original Writings of the Order and the Sect of the Illuminati. Copies of the entire conspiracy were sent to all heads of church and state in Europe. But the power of the Illuminati, which was actually the power of the Rothschilds, was so great that this warning was ignored. Nevertheless, the Illuminati became a dirty word, and it went underground. At the same time, Weishaupt ordered Illuminatists to infiltrate into the lodges of Blue Masonry and form their own secret societies within all secret societies. Only Masons who proved themselves internationalists and those whose conduct proved they had defected from God were initiated into the Illuminati. Henceforth, the conspirators donned the cloak of philanthropy and humanitarianism to conceal their revolutionary and subversive activities. In order to infiltrate into Masonic lodges in Britain, Weishaupt invited John Robison over to Europe. Robison was a high-degree Mason in the Scottish Rite. He was a professor of natural philosophy at Edinburgh University and secretary of the Royal Society of Edinburgh. Robison did not fall for the lie that the objective of the Illuminati was to create a benevolent dictatorship, but he kept his reactions to himself so well that he was entrusted with a copy of Weishaupt's revised Conspiracy of Study and Safekeeping. Anyway, because the heads of the state and church in France were deluded into ignoring the warnings given then, the revolution broke out in 1789 as scheduled by Weishaupt. In order to alert other governments to their danger, in 1798, Robison published a book entitled Proof of a Conspiracy to Destroy All Governments and Religions. But these warnings were ignored exactly as our American people have been ignoring all warnings about the United Nations and the Council on Foreign Relations. Hear that, folks? We're still ignoring these people. We're still ignoring these treacherous, treasonous traitors of our government and in our society. Let me continue. Now, here is something that will stun and very likely outrage many who hear this. But there is documentary proof that our own Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton became students of Weishaupt. Jefferson was one of Weishaupt's strongest defenders when he was outlawed by his government, and it was Jefferson who infiltrated the Illuminati into the newly organized lodges of the Scottish Rite in New England. Here is the proof. In 1789, John Robison warned all Masonic leaders in America that the Illuminati had infiltrated in their lodges, and on July 19, 1789, David Papin, president of Harvard University, issued the same warning to the graduating class and lectured them on how the influence of Illuminism was acquitting on American politics and religion. And to top it off, John Quincy Adams, who had organized the New England Masonic lodges, issued his warnings. He wrote 3 letters to Colonel William L. Stone, a top Mason, in which he exposed how Jefferson was using Masonic lodges for subversive, illuministic purposes. Those 3 letters at this very time in Wittenberg Square Library in Philadelphia. In short, Jefferson, founder of the Democratic Party, was a member of the Illuminati, which at least partly accounts for the condition of the party at the time, and through infiltration of the Republican Party, we have exactly nothing of loyal Americanism today. That disastrous rebuff of the Congress of Vienna, created by the Tsar of Russia, did not by any means destroy the Illuminati conspiracy. It merely forced them to adopt a new strategy, realizing that the one world idea for the moment killed. The Rothschilds decided that to keep the plot alive, they would have to do it by heightening the control of the monetary system of the European nations. Earlier, by a ruse, the outcome of the Battle of Waterloo had been falsified. Rothschild had spread a story that Napoleon had had one bad battle, which precipitated a terrific panic on the stock market. All stocks have plummeted down to practically zero, and Nathan Rothschild bought all the stocks for virtually a penny on its dollar values. That gave him complete control of the economy of Britain and virtually of all Europe. So immediately after that Congress in Vienna had boomeranged, Rothschild had forced Britain to set up a new Bank of England, over which he had absolutely all control, exactly as later, though, Jacob Schiff, he engineered our own Federal Reserve Act, which gave the House of Rothschild a secret control of the economy in the United States. But now, for a moment, let's dwell on the activities of the Illuminati in the United States. In 1826, one Captain William Morgan decided it was his duty to inform all Masons and the general public what the full proof was regarding the Illuminati, their secret plans, intended objectives, and to reveal the identities of the masterminds of the conspiracy. The Illuminati promptly tried